Hello everyone, this is Nancy again with Design Inventions, and today I'm going to color this fun image from Some Odd Girl. I know a lot of people, I like the Some Odd Girl because of their eyes and their features. A lot of people, maybe don't like, again, the feet as much, but you could also put her head and you could interchange her with other images if you wanted to. This is a digital image again. As you probably have found, I do like digital images. That's instant gratification in the middle of the night when you want something to color. So we're going to play around with this little girl, and she's going to have some funky hair and have fun coloring her today. The colors that I'm going to use are going to be E000, E01, E11, and R20, and that's going to be what I'm using for her face, basically. Now her hair is going to be that kind of a reddish orange color, and so it's going to be YR04, YR07, YR09, R24, and E19. She's going to have some kind of a funky blue-green kind of top. It's BG90, BG93, BG96, and BG99. Her pants will be like blue, kind of a blue jeans, and there'll be B32, B34, B37. Then we're going to use some E43, E44, and E47. That will be for her belt. That'll be for her shoes. And maybe just a teeny bit of that into the middle of her little eyes. And then her eyes will be almost like a hazily color. It's E81 and E84. I like to use the Signo White or any type of a pigment pen. Put a little dot in her eyes, and then there'll maybe a little silver where her little buckle is. So you'll see that we've got this little buckle right here on her belt and the little dots in her eyes. So well, let's get started on her. I like to start with the face on my images. So I will get my markers here, the E000, and I will start again. She's going to have some shading up here around her bangs. Now that right there, I consider that an eyebrow that's right up there. You could go over it if it's difficult for you to color, but I'm going to go just kind of around it. She's got a really round face. And don't forget her neck. I'm going to do her arms and her legs a little bit, later. I like to keep that wet edge, so I like working with the area, right here at hand. That little part up there that's going to be shaded. If you look at her a little bit, she could, again, wherever you want if you want the light to come from the, the left. When I see this image and the way she is, again, I get such a straight-on look out of her that it's, kind of difficult to kind of determine. Again, I'm getting it down to the chin, and this under her neck is going to be, dark. It's going to be shaded from her head there. Okay, I'm going to come up here with my E11, just into the part of her hair there. Just, again, on this line where her hair is coming around right there, and a little bit underneath her chin. Okay, so I'm going to move back and work with my E01, pull a little bit more of this down, of this color, pulling it in around her eyes there, pull a little bit here and there, and then we're going to go back to the E000, and again, I can go right over that eyebrow. I'm not going to worry a whole lot about that. And then we're just kind of going through here, going around, going over, watching her eyes. And she's got a little line for her nose. Again, we could, work on drawing that nose in, We could leave it just real simple and simplistic and not have much there. Again, I can work this, but I like to let some of that dry and see how it's going to act. Okay, so we can come in here with the E01. And again, if you wanted to put a little bit of a line there for her nose, like she's looking a little bit of that direction, soften it out a little bit. It's not going to show up, it looks like much, is it? So, and a little bit here for her lips. We are going to add a tiny bit of R20. Again, as I said, I like using the R20 for little pinker cheeks for little girls. Not going to be much because you can't see much around there. Just on that area, we can add a little bit more, just a little more emphasis of pink on her little lips there. And we're going to use the E01 and just kind of soften that back out there around her face and her eyes, and just pull it back in there. So she's got a little bit of rosiness to her cheeks there. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's do her arms. Okay, her arms are this arm back here is going to be a little darker. Okay, so I feel that we can go ahead and we can put the color in, and then we can take this one and color from the bottom because the top should be shadowed. You know, these are her fingers coming in from the other side. The fingers on this side, because they're going to be clasped, the backs of them are going to be a little bit darker, and these other ones are going to be a little bit lighter. Okay, so the E01, and again, if we're looking pretty straight on, it might be a little lighter out on the front of that. Going to bring up some color. If you're hearing a funky noise, again, it never fails. The minute I go to do a video, I have 2 dogs, and the one dog is a Yorkie, and that Yorkie can sleep and snore, and that's what he's doing right now, is he is snoring. So if you hear a unusual sound, it's my Harley dog, and he's over there snoring. Doesn't do any good for me to shut the door, because if I do, they just try to break it down to get in where I am. So we'll have to kind of perfect that as I go along and see how I can move those pups out of here. Okay, so basically what we're doing is these fingers on the front side, it's going to be a little lighter. Okay, I'm going to go back in here. I like shadowing this back one most of the way. Okay, and so there are her arms, and she's got a little bit of a shadow. The way her fingers are clasped, they're gonna cast some shadows on there. This one could be a little darker, but I think that's good to go. Now, this part here, these are legs, because these are short, like shorts is what they are. So they're going to be, you know, they're just over her knees. Okay. Something like a little capri. So these legs are kind of a fat leg, and so I like to, you know, I shine, you know, the highlight on the front. Again, now this leg back here is behind, so it's going to be a little bit more of a shadow, so you can go a little bit more color on that one. So that was my E000. Okay, now here is my E01, and again we're trying to add that roundness to these legs, and her pants are going to cast a little bit of a shadow, you know, as they're on her entire leg. So we're kind of creating that shadow and making these a little bit rounder. Okay, now we have our E11, and I'm just going to get the corners of that, and we're going to pull it down just a little bit off the sides there and in, and we can put a little bit more of this on that back leg, because again we are trying to make that one a shadow. And now I'm back with the E01, and we're pulling some more of that, Notice that I've left a lot of that white area in the front. Okay, I'm just kind of pulling that color that way. Okay, and then we're coming back and just working some of this color around because we want to, you know, create that top shadow there. So I'm moving it, and then we're going to move this right over here to this edge. If we really want to create a little bit of the roundness back around, again, I'm taking my E11 and I just created that, and I don't have a problem with that. Okay, if you hear that sound, it sounds like a dead animal, doesn't it? Okay, I could probably try to wake him up. Okay, so there we have, those are her legs, okay? Her legs are completely done. So that's what we're going to do on those legs. Now, let's go ahead and let's do her hair, okay? We can do her eyes and we can do her hair. Those are a couple of things that we can go in and we can do. What I was going to do is her eyes have that kind of that hazily look to them. So we're going to use those, the E81 and the E84 is what we're going to use. So here's the E81, and the E81, we're just going to put a little bit of color down in here on our eyes, and again, those little spots are going to be white. Okay, so there's a little bit there. Then I'm going to get in with the E84, and I'm just, because they're going to be underneath maybe her eyelids there, we're going to put just a little bit of this color there, just to kind of give it a little more of a shadow, and pull that around. Okay. And I am going to put just a little bit of, this is the E43, and that's just a little bit of brownness in the center of her eye. I'm going to put a little bit of E44. I might have only been able to have to do the E44, but I just want those to kind of be just a little darker there. And we'll put the whites on when I finally get done. I usually don't put the glitter or anything like that on until the very end. I want that stuff to be able to be the last little highlight that I put on there. So now let's start with her hair. So this is where I'm using the YRs. I absolutely love to do red hair. I just think that's just so much fun. So we are going to be using the YR04, YR07, YR09, and then we're going to add in some of the R24 for some depth, and then the E19 to kind of get a little bit of that auburn, that brownness to it. Okay, so I'm going to start up here at her cap, okay, and I'm just going to pull some of this color down. I'm making pretty light strokes there, okay, and we're going to add a little bit back down here. These curls are going to be a little darker underneath her you know, her head back in this back. This is going to be pretty shaded. It's going to be pretty dark. So the fronts of her face are going to be, you know, that's where the highlight's going to be. That's where you're going to see most of that orange. So I can come in here and I can pretty much color this in and lay in at least this YR04 underneath here. That way I've got it laid in, and just a little bit of these flips, and then I can add the little bit that I need to add. And then I'm going to take the tips here and I'm just bringing it up, and I'm leaving some of that white tone. Okay, I'm probably just going to do one side at a time. Kind of re-wet that edge. Okay. Okay, and here is my YR07. And I'm just adding a little bit more color up there at the roots. Okay, back down here. And just a little bit where it's flipping up here. I'll add a little more depth down here underneath where it's going to be shaded. I'm not putting a lot of color. It's not totally perfect. Having to use just the very, very tip end of my marker around there. Okay. Now we're going to put in the YR09 and just a little bit more. And you can see I'm just getting a little bit more of that color in there. Okay. Just a little bit more. And giving us some definition right around that curl, coming right around in here. Okay. Now we're going to add the R24, which is going to add that darkness to it, and that red. And I'm not going to do those little curls there, just because I think the tips of those could be a little bit, they could be a little bit brighter. If you think about hair, I think hair is probably one of the hardest things for people to do and to tackle. And I always say, well, look at someone's hair and see what it looks like. And then we're going to go into the E19 now, and we're going to add the E19, which is giving us some brown tones. And again, I'm just streaking a little bit of that where I think it's going to be a little darker. I'm giving a little definition underneath this, because I believe, you know, this curl can stand out, but I'm adding just a little bit of definition, some tiny little strokes here, and then we'll go back in and we can even those out with our YR09. Okay, I'm not going to add any more red. I'm not going to go back with the red. I'm coming in with my YR09, and I'm just kind of working these colors underneath here. I've got a little bit of color on her shoulder there, but I can always go back and add a little bit more to that. Okay, now I'm just bringing some of this color a little further up, a little bit of 07 to pull that in. And then we're going to go back with our 04. And there we've kind of blended that. Now we also are going to go back in with some low lights. I can go back in and pull some color down on some of those strands. Okay, I'm going to turn it over and see that I really don't have a lot of saturation, which is really good. That's why I have this paper towel there, so I give a chance at, for it to at least lay on the top of there. Once again, this is Copic Express-It paper. That's what I always use. So we're going to start this side again, over here. Shouldn't say again. Finally, we're going to start this side and bring it up. Okay. So just laying in some of those colors. Here's the 07, YR07. And again, getting it up at the top there and just kind of bringing a little bit more of that color up. Then we're going to add some YR09. Just for some depth. Here is the R24. Again, it could be a little more color there. And then we have the E19. a little bit down there. And it gets pretty dark, so you have to be careful with that E19. Okay, I'm going to actually come back in here and pretty much color this E19 because I like that definition. Okay. Pulling some of that with the 09. Okay, once again, remember I said I wasn't going to use the 07 when I went back up. I mean the R24. This is my 7, and here is my YR04. Just kind of blending that. And in here and give her a little bit of color there. Okay. Now we can add some of the, what I call the low lights. You can go down these strands and just put some depth there. This is the E19, and I am barely, I'm just using the tip of this. So I'm barely touching it. Okay. And I do believe I want to add a little bit of red just to this little curl right there. And then we're going to take the 09 and kind of pull that up there. Okay, so there she is with her red hair. So we are going to do her blue jeans. I'm going to let that dry just a second because I want to try to do a little bit of correction there on what I've done. I don't know if I can push any of that color with my colorless blender or not. That's what I got a little bit wild there. So I'm thinking maybe I can possibly move some of this color. Let's just see how much I can do, if I can move it or not. Just a teeny bit out of there. And then I can kind of get it to dry. I just don't want it to weep any further. So, okay, so there we are. Let's go ahead and let's attack her little blue jeans there, okay? So those are going to be the B32, 34, and 37. It's not going to be a lot of 37, and it may be necessary for me to do a little palette blending. Those of you that know me, I like to do some palette blending. So it's going to work kind of the same way that her legs did. This one's going to be a little darker than this leg over here, but we're definitely going to have some definition where these are coming in, okay? So I'm just going to, and we'll attack some of those as we go. Okay, and this side here, it's going to be pretty dark, so I feel pretty good about coloring that all the way is what I'm going to do at that point. Okay, and then we're going to add the 34, and again we're just adding some of this 34 here, and again we're going to keep putting those creases in there as we go. Again, we're just kind of working this through. And then go very lightly with my 37. Again, we're going to add a little bit of depth here. I'm going to put these creases in. And I'm going to just put a little bit of color here on this side. We're going to draw the line for some definition here, okay, and pull in some of that. Okay, so then we will go back to our 34 and pull some of this down. Okay, pull this over. And we're then back to our 32. And I can pull most of all this over there. All the way. And pull this this over there just to kind of make it blend. Okay, go back on my 32 on this side, and I'm going to put a little bit of a line there just to get a little bit of color, and I'm going to kind of work that through. So she's got a little bit. Now you could add some texture to her jeans if you wanted to. That would be fine. But you would need to do that the first thing. Okay, if you've ever texturized, you would definitely need to texturize those jeans the very first thing. Okay. I am so sorry about my dog snoring over there, you guys. He is just very happy. Okay, there we go. We have her blue jeans. Okay. Now, sometimes I just need to stop playing with it and let it dry. Okay, there we go. There are her blue jeans. Okay, now we're gonna, her hat and her little shirt are gonna be the same color, okay? And that's where we're gonna use that BG series. And it is the, it's an unusual series. Some of those were the newer colors that, you know, the BG90 was brought in, you know, at the beginning of the year. But I love this. This is a really nice set. It's definitely got a gray green. So I'm going to turn my image, as most of you guys know that's what I do, and I'm going to start back here. We're going to make the roundness of our hat. And we're just coming up here, hitting these colors. I'm going to do her bow last, okay? So that was BG90. BG93, starting down here and bringing it up just a little bit more. Probably going to be shaded a little bit there. I could actually, I think, go around her little bow. Okay. Okay, then we have BG96. And it's, again, down the depth to give the roundness, and it's going to actually be down in here like that. Then we're adding the BG99. That darkest color, and we're just going to pull it right down in there. That's, you know, showing that it's coming back down off that back side, okay? Then we're going to bring this 96 a little further up into here, coming back with the 93, okay? And then we're going to do the 90. Excuse me just 1 second here. Okay, and then we have the 90. Pulling in that color. Okay, so it has that definite rounded top on there. Okay, so now we're actually going to color the bow, and I think the bow is going to be a little bit darker. Okay, the edges don't have to necessarily, you know, have a lot of color on them. The inside of it's going to be a little bit darker there, and then let's come back with the 90 and just pop these tops just a little bit. And we'll do 96 just where that touches. Okay, just to make it be a little bit more. Okay, so we have her hat done. Now the same thing's going to happen. We're going to duplicate this. We're going to do this on her little top. I do see that it looks like I have a little bit. Again, I need to see if I can move some of this out. It may not move before I get started, just to soften it a little bit. Okay. Move a little bit of that around. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to make the band, you know, of her shirt kind of like an accent. So I'm actually not going to use my BG90. I like the fact that we're going to just, this is such a small little shirt, an area that I'm going to color basically this part pretty much all the way, okay? This is my BG90, and we're just coloring her shirt in, okay, just to get it laid in, okay. Now there's a little, she has these little puff sleeves, and this sleeve's going to be a little darker. There's going to be a little bit of emphasis down in here under her inner shirt, okay. This arm is going to show a little bit of shadow all the way down, and there'll be a little bit of shadow on this outside right there. And then I'm going to lay in all of this color right here, okay, because that will be the color, and then we're going to lay in all of her collar, and we'll dot our little buttons, okay, and then the little cuffs on her shirt as we go. Then we're just going to go down a little bit more and layer that color just with the next one. We're not, I don't think we're going to get into the 99. We may need to use it just a little bit, but just a teeny bit more color right there where those puffs are. We'll work that out. And her little collar, so I'd like her collar to be just a little bit darker. Okay, a little bit more emphasis where we have some shadowing here. I'm just kind of drawing a line against her arm. And again, this is pretty dark. That's what we're at, a little bit of 99. Okay, now we're going to work our way back down to kind of finish out her top here. Just kind of move some of this color just a little bit. And then we're going to, the 90, just kind of moving it and smoothing those edges is what I'm doing. Okay, it's just smoothing out that color. It is such a small little area to get much, you know, going on right there. And I'm going to actually take and put, that's a squeaky noise, but I'm going to put some of my BG93 on a palette just so I can kind of lay in some of that color. As I said, I am definitely a palette blender, and that just kind of adds a little bit more of that color in there. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of 99 here and just put it on the bottoms of her trim to pull that in. And we're just working our way back down. Okay, so there we are. I think there should be just a teeny bit more color right there. Okay. There you have that little shirt. Okay, so we have finished with that BG series of colors. Her belt, as I said, is going to have that that brown tone to it, so it's like a little leather belt is what it is. So we're going to do the little yellow belt, leather belt, and her shoes. Okay, I'm just kind of recapping some markers there. Okay. So now we're going back into that E43, 44, and 47. And these are again her little shoes that, again, if you've seen much of Some Odd Girl, these are pretty typical shoes from Some Odd Girl. And they're just kind of fun. Okay, just a little bit there. And then we have 44, I think I just kind of Did my markers a little backwards, but we'll be okay there. Okay. And again, this may require a little bit of palette blending. But again, I'm just working my way just around her fronts of her shoes here. We're going to do this again since I did kind of went the wrong way with my markers here, it looked like. Just, maybe I'm just kind of messed up today. I'm not with it. I don't know why here. Never had some of those days. I think it had to do with the snoring dog. And he started again. I've run out of things to kind of throw at him to wake him up, so I can't reach him anymore. I do have a couple of things I could use. Okay, so we are going to do the belt, and again, I'm just going to color in the belt here. Very simple. The 44. Okay, it doesn't have to be much variance there. Again, we are talking such small stuff that not a whole lot. Okay, so the belt is done. Okay, so we have everything done. I do see the one thing that I need to go back and do. I need to catch that little eyebrow up there that I haven't gotten. And we're going to put a little bit of YR09 up there, and then we're going to probably touch it then with that E19 just to kind of darken it up, okay, to make it a little more brown so that she's got her little eye, brow. Okay, now I'm going to come in here, and this is a white pigment pen, and we are going to just accent those little whites of her eyes like that. Okay, and I'm going to take this it's a silver Signo, and this was actually like the little prong on our belt. So I'm just making that look. There's a little bit of silver on her belt right there. So there you have it. It's the Some Odd Girl. I believe this is a Kaylee, but she's just kind of punk, and she's got that fun red hair. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and thanks for stopping by.